silencing toxic relationships forever with Zen wisdom. The essence of forgiveness in Zen and Buddhism. Silent forgiveness is not merely an act of avoiding confrontation. It is a transformative journey of self-discovery and liberation. At its core, forgiveness within the framework of Zen and Buddhist teachings is not about the other person. It is about the self. This act is a choice to release anger, pain, and resentment that tie us to the past, allowing us to embrace peace and move forward. In Zen, silence is profound and full, often serving as the medium through which the deepest truths are communicated. In this context, forgiving someone in silence, while walking away from the relationship, becomes an act of immense compassion and strength. This chapter sets the foundation for understanding how silent forgiveness aligns with key Zen and Buddhist principles, such as non-attachment, impermanence, and compassion. It explores why letting go, without words or reconciliation, is a practice of profound liberation. Chapter 1. The Foundations of Forgiveness. 1. Impermanence, accepting change to let go of resentment. In the teachings of the Buddha, impermanence, anicca, is one of the three fundamental marks of existence. Everything in life, from material things to emotions, is in constant flux. Even the deepest wounds do not last forever. When someone hurts us, anger and resentment can arise intensely. However, if we examine the nature of these emotions, we will realize that they are not fixed entities. Anger arises, reaches its peak, and gradually fades over time. The only thing that prolongs it is our own attachment to the past. Accepting impermanence means recognizing that pain and suffering are just fleeting waves on the surface of the lake. When we stubbornly hold onto our suffering, we unwittingly prolong it. Conversely, when we realize that everything is in motion, our hearts can gently release the pain, allowing forgiveness to arise naturally. In meditation practice, we can observe the changing nature of emotions with each breath. If we listen deeply within, we will see that nothing is worth clinging to forever. Forgiveness, in this context, is not something we give to others, but a process of liberating ourselves from the grip of ever-changing emotions. 2. Non-self and non-attachment, letting go to end suffering. One of the primary reasons we struggle to forgive is our attachment to the idea that we are victims. We feel that someone has wronged us, that we have been treated unfairly, and that the other person must be held accountable. But if we look deeply into the nature of the self, we will see that the I who was hurt is merely a collection of emotions, memories, and thoughts, all of which are impermanent and ever-changing. Buddhism teaches that suffering arises from attachment to our sense of self, to notions of right and wrong, to justice, and to revenge. If we continue to hold on to resentment, we trap ourselves in a cycle of suffering. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting what happened, but recognizing that clinging to resentment serves no real purpose other than deepening our pain. When we practice letting go, we are not abandoning justice or righteousness. We are simply releasing the ego's grip on emotions. We no longer feel bound by the need for an apology, acknowledgement, or compensation. We simply accept that what has happened has already passed, and we choose to move forward. This is why forgiveness in Zen is often silent. It does not require words or outward actions. Forgiveness is not about others. It is about freeing ourselves. When we let go, we cease to be victims and instead become masters of our own minds. 3. Compassion, forgiveness as a form of healing. Many believe that forgiveness is a gift we give to the one who has harmed us. However, in Buddhism, forgiveness is an act of self-compassion. When we hold on to anger, we unintentionally create suffering for ourselves. Much like holding a burning coal with the intent to throw it at someone else, we are the ones who get burned first. Compassion, karuna, does not mean agreeing with what others have done, but understanding that everyone acts based on their own conditions. The person who hurt us may also be suffering, trapped in ignorance, anger, and unresolved wounds. When we cultivate compassion, We no longer see ourselves and the other person as two opposing sides. We recognize that both of us are human beings seeking happiness, even if they may be doing so in misguided ways. With this realization, resentment begins to dissolve. One common practice in Buddhism to cultivate forgiveness is metta meditation, loving-kindness meditation, where we send loving energy first to ourselves, then to our loved ones, to neutral people, and finally even to those who have wronged us. In doing so, we not only free ourselves from suffering, but also contribute to reducing suffering for others. Practical application of forgiveness in daily life. Understanding forgiveness is one thing, but practicing it in daily life is a challenge. When struggling to forgive, we can ask ourselves, am I clinging to the feeling of injustice or pain? How would I feel if I no longer held on to my anger? How can forgiveness help me achieve liberation? We can begin with small, daily practices. Observe our emotions when we think of those who have hurt us. Spend time in meditation, focusing on the breath and noticing how emotions change. See the other person not as an enemy, but as a human being also struggling with their own suffering. Dedicate a few minutes each day to sending loving energy to ourselves and those around us. Forgiveness does not happen overnight. It is a process, a path of meditation, and an inner transformation. But as we practice, we will realize that peace does not come from receiving an apology. It comes from our ability to let go and move forward. Chapter 2: The Seeker's Journey, a Symbolic Narrative. The Seeker's Journey, a Symbolic Narrative. The seeker's journey is one of transformation, moving from the depths of betrayal and pain toward the lightness of inner peace. In the stillness of solitude, their heart echoes with unspoken questions. Why did this happen? Why must I be the one to bear this pain? Anger simmers beneath their sorrow, and though the world around them continues unchanged, they remain shackled by invisible chains of resentment. One day, seeking solace, the seeker wanders into the mountains, where they encounter a wise sage meditating beneath an ancient tree. The seeker, unable to contain their turmoil, pours out their grief. The betrayal by a trusted friend feels like an open wound that refuses to heal. The sage listens in silence, then gently points to the tree beside them. Strike the tree outside and see what it does. It stands firm, unmoved, offering neither retaliation nor complaint. Can you not be like the tree? Confused but intrigued, the seeker hesitates. Then, with an uncertain hand, they strike the tree's sturdy trunk. The bark does not resist. It does not break or wither. It simply is. A few leaves flutter down, caught in the wind, but the tree remains, unwavering, unaffected by the blow. The seeker lowers their hand, a new understanding beginning to form. The tree does not question the wind when it bends under the storm, nor does it resent the seasons for changing. It does not suffer because it does not cling to what is past. It accepts, adapts, and continues to grow. At that moment, the seeker realizes that their suffering is not from the betrayal itself, but from their choice to carry the pain. Betrayal is a moment. Suffering is a choice. The wise sage continues. You were betrayed in a single moment. But how many moments since then have you chosen to relive that pain? How many days have you carried the weight of anger, feeding the fire of resentment? The seeker, reflecting deeply, sees the truth in these words. They have allowed a single event to shape countless days, repeating the betrayal in their mind, giving it power long after it is past. Forgiveness, the seeker realizes, is not about the betrayer. It is about themselves. It is a decision to stop carrying what no longer serves them. The betrayal was real, but its continued existence in their mind is a choice, one they have the power to change. But if I forgive, the seeker asks, does it mean I accept what was done to me? The sage shakes their head. Forgiveness is not condoning. It is not forgetting. It is simply putting down the burden that you no longer need to carry. Like the tree, the seeker understands that standing firm does not mean resisting reality. It means accepting it, allowing it to pass, and remaining rooted in one's own strength. Chapter 3: Silent Forgiveness, a Practical Approach. Silent forgiveness, a practical approach. Forgiving in silence is not an act of passivity, but an act of inner mastery. It requires deep awareness, intentional release, and the courage to move forward without seeking validation or resolution from the other person. Silent forgiveness is not about forgetting, condoning, or excusing harm. It is about breaking the cycle of suffering within oneself. 1. Acknowledgement, facing the pain without denial. Forgiveness begins with an honest acknowledgement of what has happened. Often, people suppress their emotions, believing that ignoring pain will make it disappear. However, unaddressed wounds fester beneath the surface, manifesting as bitterness, anxiety, or resentment. Acknowledgement means fully recognizing the betrayal, the hurt, and the emotions that arise without judgment. In silence, one can observe these emotions without becoming consumed by them. Through mindfulness meditation, one can sit with the pain, feeling it fully before allowing it to pass. This step is crucial because one cannot release what they have not first accepted. 2. Reflection, understanding the nature of anger and suffering. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Anger, when nurtured, becomes a heavy burden, one that affects not only the mind but also the body. Studies show that prolonged anger and resentment lead to increased stress, high blood pressure, and emotional fatigue. Silent forgiveness does not mean one must approve of what has happened, but rather recognize that clinging to pain does not change the past. In reflection, one contemplates, does my anger serve me? How would my life change if I let go of this burden? Am I keeping this wound open by replaying the past in my mind? Through these questions, one gradually sees that the true suffering does not come from the betrayal itself, but from the continued attachment to the pain it caused. 3. Visualization, a silent ritual of release. A powerful way to practice silent forgiveness is through visualization. This can be done as a meditative practice. 1. Find a quiet space where you will not be disturbed. 2. Close your eyes and bring to mind the person who caused you harm. Instead of focusing on anger, imagine them as a human being, flawed and imperfect, just like yourself. 3. Visualize a scene where you silently let go, perhaps picturing yourself placing the resentment in a flowing river or watching it dissolve into the wind. 4. Breathe deeply, and with each exhale, mentally release the weight of anger, whispering internally, I choose peace. This practice does not require the other person to be present or even aware of your forgiveness. It is an internal transformation, a conscious act of releasing what no longer serves your well-being. 4. Acceptance, moving forward without the need for reconciliation. One of the greatest misunderstandings about forgiveness is the belief that it must lead to reconciliation. In reality, some relationships are best left behind. Silent forgiveness is about freeing oneself from the emotional entanglement of the past, not necessarily rekindling lost connections. Acceptance means understanding that closure does not always come from others. It comes from within. Some apologies will never be given. Some wrongs will never be acknowledged. And some people will never change. Waiting for them to do so only prolongs suffering. Instead of seeking resolution outside, silent forgiveness allows one to reclaim inner peace without expectation. It is an act of self-love, a recognition that one's own happiness should not be dependent on the actions or words of another. By following these steps, silent forgiveness becomes a transformative path, not only healing past wounds, but also cultivating resilience, clarity, and a profound sense of inner freedom. Chapter 4: Philosophical Insights on Silent Forgiveness. Silent forgiveness is a profound practice rooted in Buddhist philosophy. It is not avoidance but a deliberate act of wisdom, based on the principles of impermanence and non-attachment. It allows us to release emotional burdens and reclaim inner peace. 1. Forgiveness is not avoidance. It is an act of mastery. Many mistake silent forgiveness for weakness. In reality, silence does not mean ignoring. It means refusing to let pain control us. Forgiveness does not require apologies or conversations. It is a conscious choice to free the mind from the cycle of anger, rather than endlessly seeking justice from others. 2. Reconciliation is not necessary. Letting go is. Not all wounds can be healed, and not all people are willing to change. Letting go is not surrender. It is refusing to let the past dictate the future. Waiting for an apology gives power to the one who hurt us. But when we forgive unconditionally, we reclaim control over our own emotions. 3. Walking away from toxic relationships is self-preservation, not rejection. Forgiving does not mean maintaining harmful relationships. Leaving toxicity behind is not an act of hate. It is an act of self-love. Like a glass of poison water, we do not need to drink it to prove our compassion. Silent forgiveness allows us to find peace without returning to what caused our pain. Silent forgiveness, an act of compassion and liberation. Silent forgiveness teaches us to release expectations and break free from the past. It is not a gift for others, but a gift for ourselves, allowing us to move forward with a lighter, freer heart. Chapter 5. The Ripple Effect of Forgiveness. Silent forgiveness may seem like an internal act, but its effects extend far beyond the individual. When we release resentment, we not only free ourselves from suffering, but also create waves of peace that influence those around us. 1. Inner peace reflects outward. Anger and resentment do not stay contained within. They affect how we speak, act, and connect with others. When we let go of grudges, our energy shifts, our words become kinder, our actions more thoughtful, and our presence more calming. In Zen teachings, it is said, "A still pond reflects the moon clearly." When our mind is clear, we radiate peace to others. Silent forgiveness is not just about personal healing. It transforms how we interact with the world. 2. Leading by example. People often mirror the emotions of those around them. A person who forgives silently inspires others to do the same, creating a ripple effect in families, workplaces, and communities. Real-life stories illustrate this. A father who forgives his estranged brother without confrontation finds his children learning patience and understanding. A teacher who silently releases resentment toward a difficult student fosters a more compassionate classroom environment. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is strength that silently influences others. 3. Transforming communities through compassion. When individuals let go of anger, collective healing begins. Communities torn apart by conflict can start rebuilding through understanding. Zen monks have long practiced silent forgiveness to bring harmony where words fail. Even in small ways, our choice to forgive ripples outward. When we respond to negativity with peace, we disrupt cycles of anger and replace them with compassion. Forgiveness as a silent revolution. Silent forgiveness is not just personal, it is a force for change. By choosing to let go, we create a world with less conflict and more understanding. In freeing ourselves, we inspire others to do the same, allowing peace to ripple far beyond what we can see. Chapter 6. Healing through forgiveness. Forgiveness is a powerful act of self-healing, not just an emotional release. When we let go of resentment, we free up mental and emotional energy, allowing space for clarity and peace, releasing stress and anxiety. Holding on to anger creates chronic stress, keeping the mind trapped in a cycle of tension. Silent forgiveness breaks this cycle, reducing anxiety, restlessness, and emotional fatigue. A peaceful heart leads to a peaceful mind, restoring mental clarity. Resentment clouds judgment, making it hard to focus on the present. By forgiving, we regain mental sharpness, allowing for clearer decisions and a deeper sense of awareness, building emotional strength. Forgiveness nurtures resilience. Those who forgive find it easier to handle life's challenges with grace. as they are not weighed down by the burdens of the past. Silent forgiveness as self-purification. Like cleaning a stagnant pool, silent forgiveness clears the heart of negativity, making room for joy, growth, and inner harmony. When we forgive, we heal, not just emotionally, but spiritually. Chapter 7. Silence as a form of communication. In Zen, silence is not emptiness. It is a language beyond words. When we forgive in silence, we communicate understanding, strength, and compassion without the need for validation or explanation. Silence as pure forgiveness. Words often complicate forgiveness, bringing ego, justification, or expectations into the process. True forgiveness does not need to be spoken. It is a shift within the heart. By remaining silent, we allow forgiveness to exist in its purest form, untouched by pride or conditions. Silence is strength. In Zen teachings, silence is not weakness but wisdom. When faced with conflict, silence can defuse anger, showing restraint and depth rather than retaliation. A Zen parable tells of a monk who responded to insults with silence. His stillness dissolved the aggressor's hostility, revealing that anger loses power when met with calm acceptance. Silence as compassion. Silence creates space for understanding. In deep listening, we do not interrupt with opinions, but offer our full presence. Buddhist scriptures emphasize silent presence as an act of love, being there for others without the need for words, allowing healing to unfold naturally. The power of silent communication. Silence is not the absence of communication, it is its highest form. Whether through silent forgiveness, quiet resilience, or deep listening, Zen teaches that true wisdom is often expressed without saying a word. Chapter 8. Forgiveness in everyday life. Silent forgiveness is not reserved for major betrayals. It is a daily practice that nurtures peace in our interactions. From workplace tensions to family misunderstandings, small acts of forgiveness create profound shifts in how we experience life. Workplace conflicts. Egos clash, expectations differ, and misunderstandings arise. Instead of holding resentment, silently forgive and focus on the bigger picture. A calm mind fosters better decisions and healthier work relationships. Family disagreements. Loved ones can hurt us unintentionally. Rather than reacting, pause, breathe, and let go. Silent forgiveness prevents grudges from turning into lasting wounds, allowing relationships to heal naturally. Personal misunderstandings. Not every offense needs confrontation. Forgiving quietly lightens the heart, releasing attachment to being right. Mindfulness helps us see that most conflicts are fleeting, and holding on only deepens suffering, transforming daily life through forgiveness. By practicing mindfulness and empathy, even small moments of forgiveness become powerful opportunities for growth, allowing us to live with lightness, wisdom, and inner peace. Chapter 9. The Path of Liberation Through Forgiveness. Forgiveness is a gateway to freedom. It dissolves the weight of the past and allows us to fully embrace the present moment. When practiced consistently, it becomes a path of spiritual awakening and inner peace. 1. Embracing impermanence. Everything changes, including pain and resentment. Holding on to the past binds us, while recognizing impermanence sets us free. When we accept that emotions and circumstances are fleeting, forgiveness becomes easier. It is simply allowing what no longer serves us to fade away. 2. Practicing mindfulness and non-attachment. Resentment thrives on mental repetition. Mindfulness helps us observe emotions without clinging to them, breaking the cycle of suffering. Letting go is not forgetting. It is choosing not to be controlled by the past. Each time we release anger, we reclaim energy for joy and clarity. 3. Forgiveness as self-compassion. True forgiveness is not about others. It is an act of self-love. By freeing ourselves from resentment, we create space for healing, growth, and peace. Forgiving does not mean excusing harm. It means valuing our own well-being over the need for retribution. Liberation through letting go. When forgiveness becomes a way of life, it transforms suffering into wisdom, anger into peace, and attachment into liberation. It is not just an action, it is a path to awakening. Conclusion: walking the path of peace. The story of the seeker serves as a reminder that forgiveness is not about others. It is about ourselves. By choosing to forgive silently and let go of resentment, we honor our own well-being and create space for new growth. This final chapter encourages readers to embrace compassion, non-attachment, and the boundless peace that follows silent forgiveness. May we all find the strength to forgive silently, walk away with grace, and embrace the profound liberation that lies on the other side.